Welcome friends and acolytes of the Force back to the channel. The era of the Clone Wars was a delicate time in galactic history, one that Palpatine was expertly playing both sides of. Despite the fact that he was a mastermind overseeing the chessboard, he still needed to make sure that all the pieces moved properly, so that he could eventually run smoothly and that all of his plans would go, well, according to plan. And as with any plan, there were adjustments. These adjustments included keeping Anakin from meeting General Grievous until it was absolutely necessary, making sure the Separatist leaders were doing their part to cause as much trouble as possible to spread out the Jedi, and of course, sacrificing the right pawns. In his plans, there would sometimes be something that was going on a little too well, specifically when pertaining to Darksiders that Sidious chose to allow and allowed to function and serve him during the era of the Clone Wars. While Palpatine was still somewhat kept in the rule of two, he made exceptions when it came to certain assassins, and others that seemed to prove themselves useful to the grand plan of the Sith. However, if these assassins began to progress beyond their usefulness, then they had to be dealt with swiftly and thoroughly. Which now brings us to the topic of today's video. It was made quite clear to us why Sidious saw to personally that Maul and Savage were dealt with, as again he deemed them as rivals, and again he went there personally. However, one thing remains something of a head scratcher as to why Sidious instructed Dooku to eliminate Ventress. In the Clone Wars, Asajj Ventress was Dooku's personal assassin. A gift from Mother Talzin, Dooku recruited the powerful Nightsister and trained her personally, making Ventress a formidable foe when she needed to face down any Jedi. Ventress would find combat quite a bit in the form of her frequent skirmishes with both Anakin and Obi-Wan, both highly skilled and talented Jedi, where it seemed as if she was able to hold her own against both of them for a good amount of time. When not directly in the line of combat with Jedi, Ventress often oversaw Separatist excursions when dealing with the Outer Rim territories, acting as Dooku's liaison. Despite her repeated failures at the hands of the Jedi though, Ventress still found herself in the good graces of Dooku, and when the time came that Sidious ordered her execution, Dooku fervently defended her, saying that she was his most trusted agent, and he seemed to be genuinely upset that Sidious was making him destroy her. The fact that Dooku would actually go to bat for her against even Darth Sidious shows us that he finds her to be still quite useful and very trustworthy, not to mention exceedingly powerful. This is in stark contrast to General Grievous, who shows cowardice and proves an annoyance to Dooku, so much so that he allows the Jedi to infiltrate Grievous's lair so that Grievous can prove himself worthy to be serving under the Count. Surrounded by dim-witted, cowardly, or often emotionless droids and slimy Separatist leaders that would crack under the slightest interrogation, Dooku found himself in need of an agent that he could truly rely on. This is the role that Ventress filled. She was more than an apprentice to Dooku, she was truly his confidant, a true talent in the dark side. And now we get into why Darth Sidious suddenly, and without warning, ordered Dooku to kill Ventress, and why Darth Sidious may have actually feared the potential of Ventress. When Sidious first appeared to Dooku in his home on Sereno, he began by saying that there was a great disturbance in the Force. He goes on to say that Ventress is becoming too powerful, and needed to be eliminated immediately. After Dooku tries to defend her, Sidious becomes angry, and passively accuses Dooku of attempting to train Ventress, train her for the sole purpose so that she and Dooku could overthrow him. This immediately tells us how powerful Sidious believed Ventress is. Dooku reassures the Dark Lords of his allegiance to Sidious once again, and orders him to kill her. After this though, Dooku reluctantly leaves Ventress for dead after she crash lands. There is the possibility that perhaps it was never really about Ventress and Sidious wanted to make sure that he kept Dooku in his place. Perhaps he never even truly feared Ventress, but he wanted to make sure that Dooku was surely aligned in his own camp. We already know that Palpatine was jealous and even somewhat threatened by Dooku's skill and power in the Force. He made sure to do many things to ensure that Dooku would never become strong enough to challenge him. I think this could be what is at play here. Like we stated earlier, Ventress was Dooku's trusted confidant, and by taking that away, Sidious effectively isolates Dooku to the point where there is no one that he can rely on to possibly conspire with other than of course Sidious. By making sure that Dooku stays alone, Sidious keeps him weaker and within his place. And honestly, would it be too far of a stretch to say that perhaps Sidious's suspicions were not unfounded? Let's look at the evidence. We get to see what Palpatine perhaps meant by her growing too strong, as she would be able to actually simultaneously force choke Anakin and Obi-Wan when she is driven to her breaking point. This is something that is often overlooked and is an incredibly impressive Force feat, able to break down the Force barriers of the Chosen One and Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. To take this further, we know that Sidious both feared and respected the Nightsisters of Dathomir and was quite weary of Mother Talzin, which means he must have known how close her and Ventress were. I believe this could partially be due to the fact that Sidious would be understandably cautious about letting one of Talzin's own rise through the ranks of the Sith, in the case it was all just an elaborate ruse on behalf of Talzin, and in order for Mother Talzin to take her revenge. So why would he be worried about this? Because clearly he knows how Mother Talzin operates, because this is the exact plan she employs by getting Savage in deep with Dooku, before both Savage and Ventress turn on Dooku and attempt to assassinate him. In an interesting turn of events, the exact thing that Sidious accused Dooku of doing ended up happening to Dooku purely by Sidious's design. Perhaps through his future sight, he foresaw this happening and decided to urge it forward so that Dooku would stay in his place, and Mother Talzin would be denied her revenge. We did a video some time ago detailing exactly why Darth Sidious fears Mother Talzin so much, and here's even more evidence to add to that: the fact that Ventress was essentially an extension of Mother Talzin. If you need more evidence, look at the fact that Sidious went to deal with Maul and Savage Opress personally. He could likely feel Talzin's magic coming off of Savage, and he knew that Maul could only have survived with her help. He called Maul a rival, denouncing Maul's claim that he had built the Empire on Mandalore in hopes of returning to Sidious's side and becoming a true Sith. Rather, he basically accuses Maul of attempting to supersede and overthrow him. But again, in this same instance, perhaps it isn't Maul he's worried about, but Talzin, and the fact that two of the children of Talzin have become some of the most powerful Darksiders of this era, both in Maul and Ventress, hoping that there's not some sort of deeper ruse with the Nightsisters. And this is a major reason why he fears Ventress so much, and a major contributing factor why he orders Dooku to get rid of her. He's afraid of her latent Force potential and her anger in the dark side, not to mention how much Dooku trusts her. But on top of this, she is aligned strictly with his greatest enemy, and one of the two individuals in the entire galaxy that Sidious ever admitted to fearing, in Mother Talzin. But anyway, my friends, do you believe that Sidious's fear for Ventress can be tracked back to Mother Talzin? Or do you think it mostly surrounded around his apprentice and Dooku? Let us know your thoughts down below. And as always, may the Force be with you and have a great day.